welcome to this online kickoff meeting for the GRACE project, which is organized by Centex Bell and VIGC. For those that could not attend the first physical meeting. So first of all, very shortly, the agenda for today. So we will start with a short introduction on the project, on Centex Bell and on VIGC. Then continue with GRACE, kind of the goal, the needs, go a bit deeper into what we will do within this project and the importance for the sector. And then also go and share some of the first knowledge and the samples that we have generated in this project. And then we will finish off with a Q&A session for those that have some questions. So to start off, yeah, what was the motive for GRACE? So together with VIGC, we did some interviews with different companies in the graphical sector to ask, yeah, what are the difficulties right now on how you can work more ecological. And the responses were mostly in the same trend. Where a few people mentioned it was difficult to collect and also separate all the different materials that are present in this sector. That it's also quite different to bring people together around the table to cooperate in order to work more ecological, and also that the few companies that work on more sustainable and ecological solutions generally are kind of working on their own on an island, and it's really hard to or difficult to get like a concise or a general consensus on good recycling options or cooperation regarding collection of materials. And then, of course, the question still remains on economic feasibility. So, how feasible is it to work ecologically? So these are kind of also the questions that we want to kind of answer and help to solve within this GRACE project. And for this, we want to set up some kind of a centralized value chain going from raw material suppliers, printers, print service providers, end users, distributors of different materials, and recycling partners to really generate this kind of holistic approach to ecological large format printing. So what you can expect a bit more in depth from this project is that we will give insights and aid on how to implement circular concepts in your products or your product development. These circular concepts go around reduce, reuse, and recycle, where reduce aims to reduce the amount of material you use, and in that way work more ecological and also save on costs. Secondly, there is the reuse aspect where we try and figure out how you can reuse different materials multiple times, once again, in order to save on to increase the sustainability of your company. And then finally, recycle. How can you adapt products? How can you process products so that they are more recyclable after their life has ended? And these kind of concepts will be demonstrated with physical samples. So one of the samples, for example, you see on the right is from the kickoff, where different samples were shown where you use more or less ink, where using less ink can be, of course, more sustainable as long as you get to a similar or the same graphical result. Then there will also be some white papers and some more things to really spread all the information that we gather within this project. Of course, this is something you cannot do alone, and as I mentioned, both Centex Bell and VIGC are cooperating on this project. VIGC as center for the graphical industry, and Centex Bell as center for the textiles and plastics converting industry, really fully encompass this holistic approach. And all of this funded by Vlaio. So maybe very quickly also for those who are not familiar with Centexbel or VIGC, a short introduction. So I'm myself, Willem Uitendale. I'm a researcher at Centexbel in the coating and finishing division. And as I mentioned, Centexbel is a research institute for the textiles and plastics converting industry. So we are a membership organization uniting all the different Belgian textile companies. And we also have quite a few members all over Europe. We are governed by the industry and work in service for the industry. So the goal is really to give the industry a lot of advice, for example, with labeling, with regulations, with new developments, and assist them wherever we can. We are spread over 3 sites in Belgium. One of them, the main seat located here in Ghent. A second location in Kortrijk, which is more on the plastics converting and the recycling. And then a final one in Grasselonje. So within Centexbel, we have a few research groups, but 2 of them are of particular interest here. We have a first research group on coating, finishing, dyeing and printing, where we look at developing different formulations, compatibility between formulations and substrates, and where we look at how we can improve circularity, bio-based content, or novel applications such as smart coatings and inks within the coating, finishing, dyeing and printing aspects, both on textiles but also on different kinds of plastics. We also have experience in printing. This more on lab scale, so we have lab scale equipment for valve jet, piezo jet, screen printing, and so on. Then there is a second research group which is more onto melt processing of textiles and plastics. This is the group where they produce different yarns, different foils, and also reprocess different materials. And this is also where this group will come in within the GRACE project, try and recycle different materials and purify them as well during the recycling process. And then I will give the word shortly to Fons to introduce VIGC.
Yes, thank you, Willem, and good morning to everybody. My name is Fons Put. I'm the project leader for this project for VIGC, for the GRACE project. And I'll try to quickly give an introduction in our organization. VIGC is the Flemish Innovation Center for Graphic Communication. It started 25 years ago in Turnhout. In Turnhout, you had a lot of graphic printing industries there. And there was a lack of knowledge and insights. How is the future developments going? What to do in the printing industry? That was the start of the center, a knowledge center, with the goal to help and support the printing industry and prepare them for the future. Maybe you can do the next slide, Willem.
Yes.
Yeah. Like you see, we have a lot of partners, 30 partners now with a changing number. I heard just from our director, there's a new partner. You see the names, and we have more than 200 members now, and you see a lot of variety, commercial printers, label printers, packaging printers, LFP printers, a lot of different groups that we try to support and make ready for the future. Okay. This is the team. We are a small group. There's 6 people that day in, day out in our team, we try to develop and organize events, make courses, information events for the industry. Okay. And then maybe, like I said already in the beginning, this is the 25th anniversary this year. And we're preparing for the 10th edition of the Congress. That's an event in October, where we give a nice global look and which direction the industry is heading. If you want to be part of it, it will be in Antwerp. You can look at our website for more information about this event, for example. Okay, thank you.
All right, so now you know who Centexbel and VIGC is. I will continue on going a bit more in depth on the plan for the GRACE project. But before we start, also very quickly, what is a Cook Plus project? And the Cook Plus project is the kind of funding we receive from Vlaio. So the goal of this Cook Plus, and the name it's an abbreviation for a collective research and development and collective dissemination of knowledge. This means that the aim of this project is really to gather knowledge and distribute it collectively to a lot of partners with a focus on Flanders, but of course, where applicable, it can go wider as well. This project started in January this year and will last until December 2026. So for about 3 years, we have funding to execute our project plan, where the goal is, in general, of these Cook projects to valorize some previously performed research, but then accelerate the implementation of that research and the different knowledge that exists on the market, and accelerate the implementation within the wider industry. This research aspect is always led by knowledge centers, so in this case Centexbel and VIGC. Also important for us is that in these Cook Plus projects, we have some kind of key performance indicators which show Vlaio that the impact is reached. So there are 3 different ones. The first one is on collective actions for dissemination. So for example, whenever we do presentations, publications, newsletters, etc., that goes towards that. The second one is quite important and is company-specific actions. So these are actions that companies undertake with some of the knowledge that you gained from this project. And then a third one is actually the number of companies that perform these actions. So for us and for our funding, it's quite important to know if you are using the results that we show in this project. So the project is free. But please, if you are using the results, just let us know. It can be quite brief, so that we can communicate this to our funding agency. Then also, for this project, if you want to follow it, you have to register. Like I said, the registration is completely free. And for this, you should have received already a registration form in your email, so you can fill this in and then send it back to either me or to Fons to register yourself for this GRACE project. So then on the project activities, so one of the first activities will be project meetings with this guidance group of companies that subscribe to follow the project. There will be physical meetings. These will be organized always in Flanders. They will be in Dutch, and they will be at a physical location. So the last one was here at Centexbel. The next one will either be at VIGC or one of the companies that is interested in hosting us. During these project guidance group meetings, information will be spread on results that are obtained by Centexbel and VIGC. We will be open for questions, for comments on how the project is going and maybe which kind of issues we should tackle or we are forgetting about. And then finally, there will also be some pitches by companies that want to share how they work more sustainably already within their company. And then also, as I mentioned, these physical meetings are in Dutch. For the non-Dutch speaking people, we will also have multiple means of sharing knowledge remotely, such as newsletters, some online events, etc. So then there will also be fully public project activities for which you don't have to subscribe to this project. So there will be visits organized to companies. There will be different trainings, different newsletters, publications, presentations at events, and so on and so on. Just to distribute very widely to everyone that's interested what is ongoing with this project and what the industry can do to promote it or to improve its sustainability. So this project very concretely is spread into different what we call work packages, spread over then the three pillars of reduce, reuse, recycle. Then the acceleration of the implementation, where we try to use different methods to really aid in applying the different reduce, reuse, and recycle concepts. And then also a large work package specifically on dissemination and everything related to the transfer of knowledge. So before I go into that, some of you have already seen probably the logo in the bottom left corner. And since we are kind of a project aimed at the graphical industry, I also wanted to spend some time to explain how we got to this logo. So first of all, the first letter of Grace, the G, is present in this logo. Secondly, on the top of the logo is a small leaf, which symbolizes the environmental aspects of this project. Then there is also a connection present in this logo, which symbolizes the connection between the two different project partners. And then also linked to that, the two circles, symbolizing the circular economy, but also the two different partners that are organizing this project. Then the two dots within the logo creating some kind of an atmosphere of a square or a rectangle as a composition, which symbolizes the plates that are used quite often in this large format print and sign sector. And then finally, the first three letters of Grace are also a graphical font used in the sector. So yeah, now that we also know about the logo, some information as well on how we plan to do our dissemination and our knowledge transfer. So the first thing I want to refer you to is the project website. So we have a project website for the Grace project with some information on what the project is about. And on this website, you will also be able to find different downloads. So at the moment, it's just a download of the presentation of the kickoff meeting, but more reports and more presentations will follow over the next years. So whenever we give some information, it will be also present on this website. So now to go into the work packages, the first work package is on reduce, where we aim to optimize mainly resource efficiency. So how you use the resources, the inks, the base materials, and how you can use less of them but still obtain the same results. So for this, we are looking mainly at existing methods, but trying to get them used more widely within the industry, such as different methods for minimizing cutting waste, going and using substrates efficiently, optimizing the production planning to once again use less substrate or minimize cutting waste. And then also, as I mentioned at the start, the financial aspect is quite important. And for this, also some return on investment calculations will be done. Some examples of this work package is, for example, nesting and gang rung printing, where grouping orders can reduce cutting waste and substrate use. reducing the size of the project, so of the products. So some insights on how small or what you can cut away from the large format prints, but still reach the same visual impact. And then also some insights on how you can reuse materials for different campaigns or use less ink without losing visual quality. So then the second work package is on reuse. So reusing different materials, where we'll show different possibilities for processes, both physical and chemical, that allow you to reuse materials. So for example, chemical processes that allow you to remove inks in a sustainable manner, so you can reprint on the base material. Different physical processes, such as removing once again the top layer, so you can reprint or apply a new white top layer that can be used. Or thirdly, the use of a sacrificial layer, so that, for example, with a steam treatment, the ink can be removed quite easily together with this sacrificial layer, allowing to reuse the base material. And then the final pillar is recycle, where we look into thermoplastic recycling. This essentially means that you melt down the product, turn it into these kind of pellets that can then be reprocessed into new plate material. Since I think some people in this group might not be familiar with these kind of thermoplastic processes, I also added a quick slide on exactly what we will do here with some more in-depth info. So the first one is that during these thermal recycling, we will also aim to do purification of the material, and this will be done with supercritical CO2. This sounds maybe very technical, but it's a process that's also used, for example, to make decaffeinated coffee. So the coffee beans in this case are soaked in water, and then CO2 is used to just extract the caffeine out of the beans. And we actually aim to do exactly the same thing, but using the plastics that are used within this sector and extracting the inks or other contaminants that are present in them to obtain once again a white plastic that can then be reused another time. So then we go to the implementation. One of the large aspects here is that we really want to make this holistic value chain over the whole large format print and sign sector, where we want to link different partners within the value chain and also link them to distributors and to recycling partners, so that it becomes easier and more efficient to collect materials, to recycle materials, to reuse materials, and so on. Then we will also make different demonstrators and a white paper showing both physical examples of, for example, materials that use less ink, materials that are recycled, so you know what you can expect. And then also a large white paper, which will be a summary essentially of the whole project, describing the different actions you can take quite in depth to improve the sustainability of your products. And then finally, since I talked about a lot about sustainability, it's also quite important to really put a number on it. How sustainable is it? And are we truly working sustainably? And this is why some preliminary LCA, so life cycle analysis, will be performed for some aspects of this project, where we will do calculations using the amount of energy and resources that are used to compare, for example, two different processing methods and see which one has the least impact on the environment. So then I will pass on to Fons show some examples of what we do and why this project is important.
Yes. Thank you. Does everybody see the presentation?
Yes, it's
Okay.
perfect.
Dus a few words about why is this project important, and the importance of that sustainable approach. Maybe to give a sort of insight in this goal, have a quick look at the market itself, at the large format print and sign market. You see here a number of pictures, a number of products, typically large format printed products. I organized them in two rows. The top row is more the commercial advertisement type of products like you see in retail stores, these display products, beach flags, floor stickers. You have typically these commercial-oriented products. And at the bottom row, the second application is often decor materials, wallpaper, textile prints. Maybe the example at the bottom right is interesting. That's the Mosque of Oslo in Norway. Dus that was built with ceramic tiles, but they were not resistant to the low temperatures there in Oslo. And they changed it to large format prints. And there is also a 60-year guarantee on this large format printed look of this mosque. Just to give an example, this widespread product found on a lot of different locations in our society. A very diverse field. This is a screenshot of one supplier or producer of large format prints, and these are the materials that you can order. And you see how complicated it is, how the big variety of substrates from plate, textile, wallpapers, banners, foils. There's this very big diversity in the substrates used in large format printing. The sector itself, when you have a look what it's worth and what are the predictions, you can find some numbers, for example, from markets and markets. You can download there a sort of sample report for the large format printing. And you see they expect a 5% growth for large format print in the world. Because that's the forecast. Why be interested in the sustainability? I think the reason is growth and sustainability are bonded together. We do at VIGC also learning networks for sustainability. And I always start with the 1972, the beginning, had the Club of Rome, where I think that's still relevant today. The simple fact, in the graph you see, and the x time, we have to not only think what are we making today, but it should be done. We have to think about a longer period of time, 10 years, a decade or longer. And on the y-axis, and do we have to bother only in our local environment, or should we also think more geographical in the future? That's the whole key about sustainability. For me, it's I would describe it, sustainability, as the future impact of human actions on a geographical scale. Because when we, for example, when you are a producer of cardboard packaging locally, you do an economical business, you have a business model there, you're earning money. But it's possible that after use of your package on another continent, it will be incinerated. And that's something that our knowledge society doesn't accept anymore. And you see also the legislation going more towards you have to try to implement a more sustainable approach. Think about larger scale and longer time ahead. There is a business case, I think. If you look at the right figure, it's divided in the top two and the bottom two, and that are some possible triggers, business cases for sustainability. I think you can find some points that are true. It can reduce costs in your company just by better use of materials. It will be a lower risks. You know the legislation in Europe, carbon taxes, the transparent reporting, for example, could be there. And on the top row, it's the outside of the company. If you have a good sustainable approach, it can help you to have young people wanted to join your company to work for you. That could be something. And also at the left, yeah, you can do business, because maybe a good simple example I heard yesterday on a congress about sustainability. A producer of recycled board, he added at the process brown colorant to give his cardboard a sort of sustainable look. So you see that it's there in the market. Clients are expecting it, and you see industry is adopting to sustainable products. The circular economy, that's the basic heart of the project. Just a quick view, how do we look at it? In fact, you have the basic principles when, in this example, graphic production, a graphic product, a cardboard Kellogg's box, for example. If you look at the whole process, it starts somewhere with the extraction of fibers, and there is energy needed for that, and there will be a carbon footprint attached to that. Next step will be, for example, a paper mill that has to spend energy and has a carbon footprint for the paper production, the printing, the same thing. And at the end of life of the product, also there's energy needed to collect the waste and do something useful with it. The circular economy, there is a lot of energy and footprint connected to this product, and we should try to keep the value as long as possible, certainly avoid the waste of it, and minimize the complete impact of this cyclus. Some figures of the market. For example, circular economy, the use of recycled fibers in Europe. You have an organization like CEPI who has reliable figures about this every year. You can download them. I had a look at them and just group some of the products. And you see, for example, the three groups: newspapers, commercial print, and packaging, the three groups. And for every group, you see the share in weight is how many kilos of newspaper are produced in Europe. That's 6% of the whole production of board and paper. Commercial print 27, and packaging is the largest volume today in production, 67%. And the green number is the share of the recycled fibers of this product. You see, a newspaper is a very circular product that is low in volume, but it is highly recyclable, 92%. Packaging is the second, it's a large volume and a good number for recycling, 75. Good working sector. Commercial print is some attention there. The use of recycled fibers there is not too high. So these are just numbers of who is using recycled fibers in Europe. The ecosystems, I'm now speaking about Flanders. Dus if you take as a comparison the consumer packaging, for example, the Kellogg box I showed in the previous slide, there is a good organized system for circular economy. it's a circular ecosystem. Before the Kellogg box is on the market, there is already an amount of money that is set aside for the further use of the product, to collect it, to sort it, and try to reuse it as good as possible. Dus VostPlus, for example, is a Flemish organization who is doing this for consumer packaging. The open question is, for large format print and sign, what is possible over there? You had the slide that Willem showed there. How can this function for large format? Recycling partners can maybe be a part of it. Dus we have to look over there on what could be a good working situation, good working ecosystem for the large format print and sign. Some numbers just to illustrate. In Holland, in Zandvoort, you have the Formula 1 weekend, and that's one weekend, and there is 25,000 square meters of large format print that is printed there just for that weekend, for this event. And in the past, it was 25,000 square meters that ended up, I don't know exactly where, but I think not in the recycling system. Because you see, it's not a small thing. There are big volumes that are printed, and that could be better, could be a better fit for the circular economy. Just one large format printer, how much does he print in 1 year? Could be as big as 4 times the surface of Belgium. And that printer has 220 ton of substrate waste in this process. These are big numbers. You see, there is definitely a source available to improve these numbers. Is what to do. This is nothing new, but in every step of the process, it's possible to perform better, to have a sort of sustainable approach. Could be the lowering the carbon footprint at making of the substrate. You can discuss about the role in society, is how much is the product needed, and then the product itself. Could it be that less product is okay, that you make it smaller? Could it be that you can have a better production process with less waste, less material? Or could it that we can make more use of recycled materials, that we don't need always these new raw materials? And you have a multiplication effect of different phases in this production. First examples. Because we are in the beginning of the project, I can share some of the thoughts and the approach to the project. When we go for the reduce work package, we can think about the use of the substrate. And I make a small comparison with packaging. There they try to find an optimum spot. When you overpack the product, it's a spoilage of resources. When you underpack it, you get quality loss of, for example, food. Because there is a sort of sweet spot. This is the minimum use of materials. That's the goal. The open question is, can you do this kind of relationships? Are they suitable in large format print? For example, if you have a large format print of a sales panel in the store, how big should that be? If it's not big enough, people will not notice, and you have a negative sales impact. If it's too big, maybe you have the same thing. You have it don't add any more to your sales, and it will be simply a waste of resources. So, are these relationships suitable? Open question. We try to find an answer for that. Better use of the substrate could be also a fine example of reducing. Double-side printing, when you have two different commercial actions, Do you have to print two times the substrate, or could you print a double side and use 1 week the first source, the first side, and next week the other side? Just free thinking. Like Wilma already said, for more complex print jobs, like a display in the retail where the product consists of different parts that have to be printed, could you organize these parts as optimal as possible with a minimum of waste? The nesting and the ganging idea. Is that possible in large format? Reducing ink. In offset printing, you have these standards already, like ISO 2846. That's a method from how can you calculate the amount of inked film thickness based on the weight of the ink and the surface. We have done some tests in the past about this and for comparing inks in different processes, and you will see it can be rather different. And open question is, how good can you use similar or adjusted methods to determine the ink consumption in large format printing? So that's one of the work packages I'm now preparing. And the first practical tests will be carried out in April. And I hope to have some results afterwards of this idea. Is it possible, and what can be gained, for example, in defining a sort of eco modus on your large format installation where you know, okay, now I have the minimum amount of ink. This is typically graphic knowledge. This is how you build up colors with lots of black ink, with a low amount of maximum ink combinations. And you see, we have done this in the past for cardboard packaging, where we could just nicely show that ink reduction doesn't have an effect on the graphic design like you see it. You can do the same design with lower amounts of inks. And you see the similar tools popping up in large format. The right side is a screenshot. When you are making color profiles for your large format inkjet printer, every inkjet printer has these color profiles. How good are they optimized for the minimum ink consumption? And that's something we try to figure out also. Is it possible to optimize these settings that you have a minimum of ink usage on your large format printer? Okay, so that was a little bit the first actions from VIGC. So now I'm going to stop sharing and give the word back to Willem for his share.
Yep, thank you, Fons. So I will continue with some of the results for the reuse and recycle aspects, showing some things we have done here at Centexbel in the past that could also be interesting for this sector and for the GRACE project. So the first one is on the reuse, and then more specifically on the separation of different layers that can be present within these large format prints. And what we noticed here in the past is that usually you have two strategies for separating layers. The first one is using a reversible adhesive, where under a certain condition you can essentially remove the adhesive, allowing you to remove the different layers that are bonded by that adhesive. Of course, in this case, you need a special adhesive triggered by a specific trigger. This can be steam, this can be microwaves. And for that reason, the products have to be designed for this recycling method. A second method is using solvent-based separation, where you use different, for solvents or other methods to dissolve or remove a specific layer, allowing you to separate other layers. This can be done for conventional products, as long as you find the right solvent or the right method to do so.
Willem, just to remark, you're muted. You're muted now. I don't know why, but you have.
No, it's good.
Okay, you're back. You're back.
Okay. Yes. So one of the options here is this reversible adhesive, which we developed or which we investigated during a textile-based project, where, as you can see on the left, you can have a substrate. This can be a textile or a plastic, and a specific top coating. In this case, it's, for example, something that gives water barrier, but it can also just be an ink. And in between, a very thin layer of a primer that has a specific trigger introduced. And in this case, by applying steam, the primer will expand, destroy itself, and in that way separate the top coating and the substrate, allowing you to recycle both, while just having a very small waste fraction of this primer that was applied. So a sample on the bottom is a coated textile where we separated it using a steam treatment. And the same could be, for example, interesting to test in this sector as well. Then the second approach, like I mentioned, was the removal of a top coating with solvent. Here, once again, we tried this in a textile-based project where we took different polyester or polyamide-based fabrics that had polyurethane, acrylate, PVC, or silicone coatings, and looked at different solvents or methods that could allow us to either dissolve the adhesion layer or just dissolve the whole coating. This was actually quite successful for the polyurethanes, the acrylates, and the PVC coatings, where we nicely end up with a polyester or a polyamide textile in the end. But it did not work for silicone coatings. So of course, shows here as well there are some limitations. And the goal as well is to test this on these large format materials. Then another aspect we looked at in previous project is the decontamination of different materials, in this case polystyrene, where we tried to remove additives that were present. The specific one was for the construction sector, where a flame retardant, HBCD, that used to be commonly used in polystyrene, for example, in isolating panels, cannot be used anymore. So if you want to recycle this polystyrene, you have to remove this contaminant so that new products don't contain it anymore. And for this, we optimized an extraction method with the supercritical CO2 I mentioned before, so we can go to pure polystyrene once again that can then be reused in new products. So this recycling using supercritical CO2 means that we melt the polymer on the left. We introduce this supercritical CO2 to the melt. The different contaminants within this project, we're thinking of mainly inks, but also possibly other contaminants that could be present, dissolve within the CO2 and then evaporate out to just leave the pure polymer that can then be reconverted into new products. The efficiency of this extraction depended a little bit on the material and on the processing conditions, but ranged from about 90 to 50% of the contaminants that could be removed using this process. So it's quite an interesting one as well that we want to test within Grace. But for this and for quite a lot of the other aspects that were shown here today, we will need samples or materials. So if you have material that you would like to see tested or leftovers that you have that we can use to test some recycling methods, then please feel free to contact Fons or me so that we can use them within this project to see what can be done with them. So now we come to the end of this presentation and the overview of the GRACE project. And